Hey, I don't know about you, but after that debacle last night, I'm checking my alerts to see if or when Brandon Staley is being fired. What a freaking mess. Terrell Owens is talking about white people, and he ain't happy. And it all goes back to Kaepernick. And of course, nobody wants to play baseball for an iconic team. We'll tell you who that team is and why. As don't at me on a Friday, as I've got all your college basketball ready to go. Don't at me starts right now. Hey, welcome. It's a beautiful Friday. Well, not really. It's still overcast. Look, calling all OutKick fans. Let's do this starting January 3rd. The only place to catch OutKick's original and unfiltered shows live will be on our website. You'll be able to catch up on YouTube, but for all your live unfiltered content, head to the watch tab at outkick.com so you don't miss a beat. In 2024, outkick.com/watch will be your one-stop shop for all things OutKick. That's outkick.com/watch. Can't wait. We're growing, and we ain't slowing it down, baby Bubba. All right, here's the deal. Let's get right before we get into Terrell Owens. And, well, Terrell Owens trying to stay relevant and trying to stay, down with the cause. Brandon Staley last night. Look, we're going to rip on the coach, and I don't blame us. We're always going to rip on the coach. And I'll never blame us. I won't. I'm sorry. It's just the way the world works. But I got to tell you, those players with the Los Angeles Chargers have no heart. They're an embarrassment. That defensive secondary is an embarrassment. Horrible. The general manager, Tom Telesco, my buddy Doug Gottlieb told me that this is an uber-talented team. Well, if it is, it doesn't have a backup quarterback, because that guy Stick, or whatever the hell his name is, couldn't play dead. And he kept throwing the ball to the other team. Now, he went Andrew Luck on the ass. You know what he did? He went Andrew Luck by throwing some touchdowns when the game was over or when they were way down. But 63 points, 5 turnovers, all resulted in a touchdown. Richard Sherman pretty much summed it up, ladies and gentlemen, when he said, you know what, they should make history and fire Brandon Staley at halftime. So I know my Knicks and Dylan and everybody got their alerts going because we're just waiting for the smoke to come down, the white smoke from the mount. And here it is. You know what I mean? We're all waiting. And I don't want a guy to get fired, but my God, that analytics-driven little nerdy dude needs to get out. He does. He needs to get out. And then you got to ask yourself, who hired him in the first place? That's what you really got to ask. It's like everything is related to the mafia. Hey, man. Who brought him in? You guys, you bring him in. He's a rat. We got to kill all of you. That's what you do. You got to figure out who brought in Brandon Staley. Who thought it was a good idea? Well, it wasn't. And now you got to pay the piper. Hey, Terrell Owens went unhinged a little bit about Colin Kaepernick's refusing to stand for the national anthem, saying his protest shed light on how white people see us. You know, I've always thought about this. Why is everybody worried about how white people see you? Serious business. How white people see us. I mean, a lot of people doing a lot of great things in the African-American community, and I guarantee you none of them are worried about how white people see you. But he is. I never would have thought it would have created the firestorm that he has. Really? I mean, really? So you didn't really think that that Colin Kaepernick kneeling would have done what now? You never would have thought that it would have created the firestorm that it has. Never thought this guy would never step back on the football field because of that. You can make the argument it was because of that. You can. You can make the argument of that. And I'll listen. All right, I do. But here we go. But it really shed light on really kind of how this world works. And really how a lot of the white people see us. We'll explain that to them. How do the white people see you because a half-white dude decided to take a knee? For so many years, we've tried to voice that. I mean, 400 plus something years, we've been telling you these are some of the things that have been going on. And it took, like I said, who would have thought it took a knee to bring all of this back to life? What does that mean? So, You've been telling us about, I guess, let's just say what it might be, police interacting in the black community not being good. And you're probably right. I don't think you've been telling us that for 400 years. I think you've been telling us that, and I think people have respected that. But I also think that taking a knee didn't bring anything back to light. Taking a knee pissed a lot of people off, period, particularly in an NFL game. And it wasn't only that. It was the lying about the hands up. It was lying about all this other stuff. It was making it up, and the NFL going along with it. So you can blame white people all you want, which is the easiest thing to do. White people. And let's talk about how Colin Kaepernick, it wasn't only kneeling. Let's talk about the racist rundown of Colin Kaepernick. Socks depicting cops as pigs. That's like 12-year-old stuff. Comparing cops to slave catchers. Claiming law enforcement can murder people with impunity and get paid leave. Yeah, I don't know if that's happening. He didn't stand for the anthem. He praised Fidel Castro. He compared the NFL Combine to a slave auction. Yeah, I mean, look, Nate Boyer, who comes on our show, had no problem telling Colin Kaepernick how to do it. Don't sit, kneel. Look, Colin Kaepernick took a swing, and it was a big swing, and he's become a martyr. And it's not like he suffered from this. You know, Colin Kaepernick has made some money. I don't think Colin Kaepernick really wanted to play football. He got beat out by Blaine Gabbert. And of course, that must be the white guy's fault because it's always the white guy's fault. I mean, it's got to be. Who else's fault could it be? Couldn't be that a guy wasn't that good. Couldn't be at the end of his career that he wasn't that good. But I will say this. Colin Kaepernick took a stand, and I respect it. Always have, always will. But I'm so tired. Everything's blamed on white people. You know, the world's pretty good, particularly in America. Pretty good for everybody that wants to work. Pretty good for everybody that wants to take a swing. Pretty good for everybody that wants to stay out of trouble. Pretty good for everybody that wants to get away from drugs. And you know what? Colin Kaepernick did open some eyes. I'll give him that. But all the other crap that he did, I got to tell you, it all adds up. It does. You know what? But good for Kaepernick. Is still getting paid. He is. I mean, he made a lot of money off of this. He's going the way of Jesse Jackson and the Reverend Al Sharpton. The Reverend Al stays at the Four Seasons, smokes big cigars, drinks scotch, and owes zillions of dollars in back taxes. Now, why'd Wesley Snipes go to jail for not paying back taxes? And what's his face? Reverend Al didn't. I was going to say Al Roker, but that ain't Al Roker. Well, I mean, seriously. Why? I always wonder about those things. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. Good for Kaepernick going with what he believes. Bad for the NFL for giving in to a lot of lies. Bad for Kaepernick for doing all this other nonsense where he tried to be really smart. I gave Kaepernick a great shot. I tried to watch his documentary, and about, I don't know, half hour, 20 minutes in, I'm like, yeah, he ain't a real one. He doesn't have any depth to him, and I stopped watching. Speaking of depth, you know, I always say this. People don't play professional sports in a vacuum. They don't just show up and play. They don't just say, hey, look, I'm on the field, and then they go away. When you play for the Cubs or you play for the Giants or you play for the Yankees or you play for the Bears or you play for the Colts, you live a life. You live in that community. Like, I've never understood why people tell me that you got to go play for the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. It's a pain in the ass. I've told you this before. The practice facility is up in Westchester. The facility you play in Madison Square Garden is right in the middle of Manhattan on a crowded street. And somehow, some way, every game, you got to get from there to here. It's a pain. It's a real pain. And that's true. And the taxes are unbearable. The cost of living is incredible. Even up in Westchester, it's even worse. So why would you want to play there? Well, the San Francisco Giants are an iconic franchise. And for years and years and years, the San Francisco Giants and San Francisco was a destination, not anymore. In the Democratic-run city with garbage everywhere, homeless all over the place, people taking dumps in streets, and a governor and a mayor that are absolutely clueless, and they only kept it clean when, a genocidal maniac from China, the leader of China, came in. Then they decided to clean it up. Buster Posey, who is an icon of the San Francisco Giants, Hall of Fame catcher, had this to say about why the organization was never really a serious contender for Shohei Ohtani, and why, and this even hurt more, because Giants and Dodgers is one of the main rivalries in baseball. Yankees, Red Sox. I don't even know if the Cubs, White Sox. I would say Cubs, Cardinals. But the truth of the matter is, when you lose on Ohtani and you don't really have a chance, and then he goes to your rival, you want to ask why. You do. Like, I would always ask why. I don't care, 40 years removed, I don't care about Indiana basketball like I used to. But if a guy doesn't go to Indiana and he goes to Purdue, I want to say, what's going on? Why is he going to Purdue, not Indiana? Well, same thing with Posey and Ohtani going to the Dodgers. Posey had something to say about it. He said something I think is noteworthy, something that unfortunately keeps popping up from players. Now, this is it. This is the important part. And even the players' wives, is there's a bit of uneasiness in the city itself as far as the state of the city with crime. Now, that's an icon saying that. Drugs. Perception is reality. It's a frustrating cycle, I think, and not just with baseball. Baseball is secondary to life and the important things in life. But as far as free agent pursuit goes, I have seen that it does affect things. This is what I've been trying to tell my listeners for years and years and years. Why didn't a guy go here? Wife might not have liked it. Why didn't a guy go there? Schools weren't good enough for the kids. Why didn't he want to play in New York? Taxes are too high. Why would he go play in Florida? No income tax. Tried to tell people this for years and years and years. It is not just what you see on the field. People always say, well, you got to make it in New York if you're an NBA player. Really? Who? Who's the guy that's made it in New York as an NBA player since Dave DeBusschere or Walt Frazier? Who's an iconic? I know Patrick Ewing, but what commercials is that dude in? I would argue that Reggie Miller, Indianapolis, Peyton Manning, Indianapolis, Andrew Luck, Indianapolis, got more suck nationally than Patrick Ewing. That's what I would argue. So why do you have to play in New York? You don't. You're miserable. Here's one thing Ohtani, I think, is going to learn. Ohtani is going to learn, and he won't be affected by this as much as others because of the contract. But he's going to learn it's a lot different playing for the Dodgers, even though it's just cross town, than the Los Angeles Angels. Why? More pressure. Why? Harder to get to the stadium. When you play for the Angels, literally, they built a beautiful complex right off of the parking lot where players can live. Don't know whether Ohtani lived there or not, but he could have. Now you got to get into L.A. You got to deal with the traffic. You got to live at least 30 minutes outside, I would think. It's a pain. No, playing for the Cubs is easy. I mean, we saw Zobrist. He just rode a bike in his uniform. Harry Carey, if you go and you go to Wrigley Field and you sit behind home plate, you look out, there's a high-rise apartment building. It looks like it hovers over Wrigley Field. It doesn't. It's 3 or 4 blocks away, but that's where Harry Carey and players live. It's easy. Benetti, with the White Sox on the south side, him, the announcer, he just lived on LaSalle downtown, took an Uber every day. Easy. Ain't easy in L.A. when you're playing for the Dodgers. Ain't easy. Telling your wife, hey, look, man, San Francisco's a dump, but I want to go play there. Yeah, what are our kids? Where are our kids going to school? Now, 2022, here's the Giants president of baseball operations, Zarhan Zaidi. He said, I think it's a little bit of a polarizing place among players, talking about San Francisco, in terms of the desire to play there. That is sort of totally independent from the competitive situation. That's right, because your wife wants to know where the kid's going to school. But geography, politics, whatever. When we're doing our research on free agents and we find that players aren't really that happy, listen to this. Even coming into town for a 3-game series, they're probably not going to be that excited to play there for a long time. That's right. Now, Dave Fleming, the San Francisco Giants announcer, is a good friend of mine. We did games together. My wife and I went out for a Cubs series. We stayed at his house. He got us a nice suite next to his radio booth to hang out. It's a beautiful city. This goes back before COVID. Beautiful. Great time. But I got to tell you, if I were looking at it, no chance. I don't want to go to that hellhole. I don't want to go to that place. I don't want to be involved there. No, absolutely not. I want to go someplace where it's easy. I want to go someplace where my kids, my wife can be happy. And if I'm not married, I want to go someplace where, well, you know what? They got a nightlife that I can hang out in and not get shot or carjacked. Just telling you, when a city cleans up for a communist dictating genocidal maniac and not for its own people, that's bad town. Speaking of towns, we all know what's going on in D.C. D.C. has become another hellhole. I mean, another one. What are we doing? Man, all right. The crime wave continues. Chicago and D.C. have decided that they are going to have carjacking. They don't care if you're a senator. They don't care if you're an aide. They don't care who you are in D.C. You got a car. We got a jack. We're carjacking you. Well, guess what? Teams are saying, screw this. The Wizards and the Capitals are leaving D.C., and one of the main reasons is the crime wave. Now, Virginia, Northern Virginia, and D.C. are close. You know, it's basically like saying, I don't know, I'm going to go to Carmel, but I'm crossing state lines as opposed to Indianapolis. Or I'm going to go to Schaumburg as opposed to downtown Chicago. Doesn't matter. Different city. And Glenn Youngkin is the governor of Virginia, and he's not messing around. He is not messing around. He's like, look, they're going to make plans, they being the Wizards, they being the Washington Capitals, to get the Sam hell out of D.C. Now, I want you to think about this for just a second. Just a second. D.C., District of Columbia, the nation's capital, where there is more security, more Secret Service, everything, than anywhere else. More different branches of the government than anywhere else. More different branches of government security than anywhere else. FBI, CIA, police, county police, sheriff, you name it, they got it. And because of prosecutors that don't prosecute, because of a sense of lawlessness with no consequence, we've got two teams that play right in the heart of D.C., getting the hell out of there. Why? Couple reasons. One, they're going to get a bigger building. I guarantee you that. They're going to get a lot of money coming up by moving. But the other reason is a crime wave, and that's insane to me. Like, usually you try to say, okay, what makes sense? They're leaving. The Chicago Bears leaving Soldier Field makes sense. Why? Couple reasons. One, Soldier Field is ran by the Parks Department. Soldier Field is not run or owned by the McCaskies. And when you go to other places, you can even think about Indianapolis. Indianapolis, when you go to a football game, and it's not nearly what it is at Jerry World or some of these other places, SoFi Stadium or Allegiant in Vegas. But when you go to Indianapolis, there is the building. Outside the building, there are streets blocked off right there. I mean, right there. And they're blocked off for parties. They're blocked off for a variety of things. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what the Bears want. Think about why Mark Cuban sold the majority share of his team. Why? He wants casinos. He wants hotels. He wants a plaza. He wants more. Well, that's why the Bears want out of Chicago. They don't have any of that. They got an antiquated stadium on the lake, cold as hell, no parking. All right. The Wizards want out. The Capitals want out because of crime. It's insane. I mean, just think about it logically. The one place in this country that should be safe, major city, should be D.C. But we don't keep it safe. We don't keep anything safe. Why? Because our communities, are out of control. Because our police are handcuffed. Because our prosecutors are bought and paid for. Because our media is afraid to criticize criminals. I mean, it all adds up. It's ridiculous. College basketball. I love college basketball. Get ready for it. And you're not going to like this, and I don't care, because I do like this. I'm going to tell you right now, when Indiana plays Kansas at 12:30 on CBS tomorrow, I'm probably not going to be watching. I'm going to be playing a great course called Calusa Pines out here in Naples. But I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Before the game, I saw this, and I think it's still Indiana is only a 5.5-point underdog in Vegas. People are losing their minds. I have two friends here that at our golf outing, they paid for them to play with Urban and I today playing golf. They're at my house. They're good friends. So they're here, and we got talking last night about the Indiana game, and they're Indiana fans, and neither of them can believe the line is only 5.5. Well, it's 5.5 because Vegas knows two things. One, they want to get you to bet both sides. And two, Indiana, three things actually. Indiana, Saturday afternoon, huge game, Assembly Hall. Are you kidding? The joint is going to be jumping. And, ladies and gentlemen, Kansas just ain't that good. Kansas is not. Kansas can't shoot. McCullers can shoot. Dickinson can go on the block and get some things done, but Dickinson is flaky. He is flaky as hell. And he's the kind of guy that I could see getting frustrated, getting thrown out, getting a technical, doing something stupid, taking a bad shot at the wrong time. Now, Indiana and that kid right there, where? Soft as my ass. And I got a nice soft ass. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, that thing is baby soft. Hairless and baby soft. True story. And I don't even put lotion on. But that dude there is soft as my ass. And he best not be soft in this particular game. This guy's a kid named Ware. Everybody's a first-round pick. Well, let me tell you something. You make that kid a first-round pick, your team's going to suck for a long time. But I digress. So Indiana is going to play the brakes off of Kansas. You're going to see Indiana make threes. You're going to see Kansas miss threes. You're going to see Indiana get up on Kansas. You're going to see Kansas come back, but you're going to see Indiana force a turnover or too late. There's a rule. I know it doesn't apply according to my man Sackman. The 84% rule does not apply to college basketball, meaning if you're going to take the underdog, Indiana in this case, plus 6.5, 5.5, 7, whatever the number becomes, then you might as well take them on the money line. Look at this guy. Half of Indiana's team kind of look like girls. I mean, they got, I don't know, they just do. And this kid's daddy, he's all mad. This kid's CJ Gunn. His daddy's always on Twitter, and he's a philosopher, and he's a workout guy, blah, blah, blah. I liked it better when Indiana parents just shut the hell up, and Indiana just went about the business of playing well instead of all this talking. These guys look like, I mean, they need barrettes in their hair. Let's go. Cut your hair and get serious, damn it, about the world that you're playing in. But that's what's going to happen in that game. Arizona and Purdue's going to be a rock fight. Here's the deal. Now, you're going to think this is nuts. I think Purdue's going to win, but I will say this. Arizona, when I've watched them, and I've watched them enough, just like I've watched Kansas enough to know that Kansas isn't very good. But Arizona can blow out Purdue, meaning Arizona has enough guys, enough strength inside, enough of everything. Purdue doesn't. Purdue wins rock fights. Now, when you throw the ball inside as much as Purdue does, then you're getting a lot of twos. And I think Arizona will give up twos. I do. I think they'll try to push Edey one step out of where he's comfortable, which doesn't mean he can't make shots. He can. His jump hook's lethal. But I don't think they're going to give up open threes to guys like Lawyer or Braden Smith or others. I just don't. But I think Purdue's going to win. But if somebody's going to win by, let's just say, 8 to 12, somewhere in that range, I don't think it's going to be Purdue unless it's free throws late. Purdue to win it is going to win a squeaker. Purdue to win it is going to win it. It may be high scoring, 89, 86, something like that. But if Arizona wins, they could win by 15. That's a weird thing to say. It's a and Tommy Lloyd, the coach there, has done a masterful job at Arizona combining local with foreign kids. But he's built an aura of toughness with his team. Not usually seen by West Coast teams, but they have it. But they ain't as tough as Purdue. One thing Purdue has shown this year is they will go nose to nose with you. They will go hand-to-hand combat with you and come out on top. They did it with Tennessee. They did it with Gonzaga. They did it with Marquette. You name it, they have done it. Hell, they just did it, even though they had a score in the high 90s, 89 points, excuse me, not high 90s, 89 points to beat an Alabama team that lost their mind. Zona's got guys, real guys, but Purdue at home, basically, in Indy, going to be a hell of a game. Listen to these matchups coming up. North Carolina and Kentucky. Think about that. North Carolina, this Baycott kid, again, kind of looks like a chick. I don't know. These guys all look like, I don't know. I mean, what are we doing? Come on. Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, Sean May on the block killing folks. The coach, Hubert Davis, coming out of nowhere, becoming a pro. I love North Carolina, but Baycott just makes it, it's kind of icky. He doesn't get anything done. He kind of, I know he got numbers, but he's just, I don't know. You know, he lost Caleb Love. Caleb Love's now playing over at Arizona, and that'll be a big factor in the Purdue game. But I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of tired of Baycott. He puts numbers up, and that's what you guys care about. You guys tell me, numbers, man, look, he gets 28 and 16 or what. Good. That's great. All right. Nah, that's wonderful. Guy I'm ready to watch play is Rob Dillingham and Reed Sheppard, two freshmen for Kentucky. Reed Sheppard's daddy, I wanted him at Indiana so bad. Oh, Jeff Sheppard, I wanted him. Peachtree City. I went down there. Everybody's in golf carts. My freshman year, the wrestling coach at Andrean, Marty Hutzel's the wrestling coach. He took me around. We played golf. I just loved Peachtree City, and I loved Jeff Sheppard. And Coach Knight said he wasn't good enough, and then he became the MOP, most outstanding player in the NCAA tournament, and I never let Knight forget it. Never. But he and Dillingham have their hands full because when you play North Carolina, you're playing history. You are. I know when you play Kentucky, you're playing history, but not so much because everybody's so young. North Carolina dudes are a little bit older, led by Baycott. Now, the thing you got to understand about a matchup like this, and it's in Atlanta, so it's neutral, is that somebody's going to become a star out of this game, and somebody's going to be a disappointment. I look for Reed Sheppard to be a disappointment. I'm just telling you what I think. These are always the kind of games to me that a veteran North Carolina team, like, I don't know. I don't see Michael. I don't see a fierceness. I don't see a toughness. North Carolina, come on. You're back to when you guys were soft. Don't do that. But Baycott's good, and we're all supposed to go, yay, rah, go fight, win. Ohio State and UCLA. Everybody's telling me both of these teams are bad. I don't know. Ohio State's 8-2. That's 80% of your wins. You do that, you're in the Hall of Fame. Mick Cronin's team's 6-3, and they've lost to pretty good teams. But the fact of the matter is, this game's going to be a hell of a game. It's a kid named Thornton I want you to watch for Ohio State. Dude just has it figured out. He's a little bit oversized. He moves, he passes. He's pretty good. He's really good. And late in the game, if Ohio State's going to win, Thornton's going to make the plays. Now, Thornton is always asked to make the plays, but, you know, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Our friend Bruce Pearl, that's a good-looking jacket. Although here's the deal. When you're a white guy with gray hair, wear darker colors. A lighter color like this that Chris Holtman has kind of flushes him. You know what I mean? It kind of whitens him. They told me that at ESPN. They're always like, don't wear a white shirt under your sport coat because I'm translucent. I mean, what the hell? So don't do that. I'm like, all right, I'll do whatever you guys want. Tonight, UConn and Gonzaga go. It's in Seattle, which is a massive home game. I wonder if UConn folks will travel. Look, here's the deal with UConn. I would say this. I don't care that UConn lost to Kansas. Doesn't matter to me a bit. Not even a little bit. I'm telling you, UConn, best team in the country. If you told me that, I'd say, okay. If you said, who are the best three teams in the country, I'd say Arizona, Purdue, and UConn. And unless somebody falls on their backside this weekend, Arizona or Purdue, and gets blowed out, they're still going to be the best three teams in the country, in my opinion, regardless of what UConn does at Gonzaga. There are tough games to win in college basketball, and I love that they're playing this game. I love that at least they're playing it close enough in Seattle. UConn traveling all the way out there. And see the kid on the right, Newton, he's a bad man. He's a really bad man. He's the next in line. It feels like UConn always gets another guy to step up. The Hawkins kid left, 6'6", great shooter, lift up, all that. Jordan Hawkins, he's in the NBA now. So this kid Newton just shows up and he starts whooping ass. He's whooped Indiana ass. He whooped Kansas. He just whoops ass. That's what he does. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. I think, we got other games. We got Baylor and Michigan State. Michigan State struggling, but you feel like at some point, Sparty will get it together. You got Auburn, USC. Everybody wants to talk about Bronny James. I don't know if Bronny James is any good. My guy, Doug Gottlieb, says, if his name wasn't Bronny James, it'd be good. But his name's Bronny James. So guess what? He gets to be really good. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I'm telling you right now, if Indiana gets blown out, I can't shave my head on the air. Maybe I'll grow a beard. And I hate beards. But something's going to happen because Indiana's going to play him well. And don't tell me a blowout is like a one-possession game with 2 minutes to go. And next thing you know, they hit a bunch of free throws and it's a 10-point game. That ain't a blowout. I'll define for you what a blowout, and I'll be honest. If you're watching the game like Auburn game, that's obviously a blowout. But even a game that's, I don't know, close, and you never get the sense that the team could win, like Alabama, Georgia football. The game was close. Nobody would call that a blowout, but I felt like Alabama, and I watched every play of it, Alabama was winning, period. Don't at me. They were just winning. Game was won. I felt at no time after the initial score was Alabama in jeopardy in that game. That, to me, is a kind of sort of blowout. I'll do something stupid. I'm not going naked. I went naked one time on a show, and that didn't go well because they somehow, I don't know if our department thought that I was kidding, but they sent a woman photographer up because Kyle Knezovich and I had plastered stuff all over the windows so people couldn't come in. And all of a sudden, here comes this little girl. She's an intern with what's it called? And I'm like, what? What? No. Go away. Go away. No. No women in here. None. Zero. Zip. Nada. Go. Adios. Adios. Hasta la vista. All right. Let's talk about criticizing Mike Tomlin. Are you insane? Are you crazy? It's Pittsburgh Steelers legend Ben Roethlisberger called out Mike Tomlin's bad coaching and insists people aren't afraid to play Pittsburgh anymore after a pair of dismal losses. Why is this important to us here in Indy? Are you kidding me? Guess who the Pittsburgh Steelers play? They play us. Who's us? The Colts. Now, I really can't say us because I don't see me at any of those practices. But damn, Colts fans, we didn't need this. We didn't need Big Ben calling out the team. Here's what he said. I just feel like people aren't afraid to play the Pittsburgh Steelers anymore. Maybe the tradition of the Steelers is done. Maybe it needs to be formed in a new kind of way. I don't know. At the end of that game, talking about the game last week, if we had one more timeout, we have another chance. You can't afford in the second half of games to burn silly timeouts and not to have them late in the game. To me, that is bad coaching. Man, strong words by the big fella. You're not allowed to criticize Tomlin. Tomlin's got a strong cheek, and he wears a cross, and he speaks plainly and honestly. You can't criticize Tomlin, or can you? A lot of people in Pittsburgh are saying Tomlin's getting exposed. I don't know, but I do know this. You lose to Gardner Minshew, even though you don't have Kenny Pickett, and you got some problem, Mike Tomlin, maybe for the first time ever. Speaking of a problem, man, dudes, NFL players, why are you just slinging it around? Why are you just spreading, this is gross to say, why are you just spreading that seed? You know, there's about 11 different ways of contraception in this world. I'm not going to get into all of them, but there are. There's like 11. And they generally, they work. At least is what I'm told. But Tyreek Hill, recently married Tyreek Hill, got married last month. He just got slapped with 2 new paternity suits, 2 new ones. Listen to this. He has been sued separately by 2 women who each claim he is the father of their child, both born this year, 2023. These are in court documents. Brittany Lackner and Kimberly Baker, these 2 beauties, accused the NFL All-Pro of not adequately providing for the children he allegedly conceived with them and are demanding more child support than the $2,500 per month he already pays them both, as stated in the legal papers. He married Kita Vaccaro last month in Tennessee or Texas. Lackner gave birth to their son, Sol Corazon Hill, February 7th, after she alleged a month prior that she had sex with Hill in 2022. In the lawsuit, Lackner alleged a prenatal paternity test proved that Hill was the father with a greater than 99.9% assurance. Lackner filed separate paperwork after the birth, claiming Hill had demanded a second DNA test before voluntarily saying, I'll give you $2,500 a month. Lackner wants more money. Shuggy, Sugar Daddy, said the amount of money that Shuggy is paying is woefully inadequate, seeing as though the dude makes $30 million a year. The father is a member of the Miami Dolphins, earning a salary of $30 million a year. Let's look at this. Pursuant to a 4-year contract, the mother is unemployed. Oh, really? Shocking. No income. Stunning. Is in debt. I can't believe that. On Medicaid and no means of support. But I tell you what, she can sling it around. Yeah, she can. And Lackner not afraid, man. She putting that video out on TikTok, which is where all the ladies show their business. She shared a photo who had a hand on her belly in August. There you go. All right. Okay. Now, Hill's firing all kind of stuff. He tried to get it dismissed, arguing that Sol was conceived in Kansas and Lackner moved to Fort Lauderdale for strategic reasons. The second paternity suit, Baker accused Hill of showing utter and abject uncertainty for their now 6-month-old daughter, Trey Love Hill, who she claimed was conceived when she and Hill hooked up in August. Man, aren't you all beautiful? Classy dames here. She claimed that the $2,500 she receives from Hill isn't nearly enough. Costs her $10,000 a month. She tried to get Baker's lawsuit, Hill did dismiss, arguing Baker had no grounds to sue in Florida, as she is based in LA. I'm sure she's a star. Man, women and baby mama, you guys are dumb. Before an unmarried father may be accorded standing to blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is Hill, listen to this. It gets better. Hill currently pays $13,500 in child support for 3 kids he shares with his ex-fiance. My man. Then he said he's leaving his fortune, which I'm sure will be worth nothing by the time he's done, to his 4-year-old daughter, Nyla, in his Needed to Be Said podcast. He plans to retire when he's 31 years old. Man, oh, you go, Tyreek. Yeah, you are approaching Sean Kemp, and that ain't easy to do. Man, oh, man. No shame. No shame whatsoever out of anybody. These women just spreading them. Damn. And Tyreek Hill's falling right into that gaping hole. We'll be right back.
LeBron is saying, hey, I'm looking forward to his first game. I've already told my teammates that if they're playing on the same day we're playing, I'm going to go catch them the next game. Family over everything. The perfect scenario is that he's opening on a night where the Lakers don't have a game, and he's opening in Los Angeles at home for USC. But this goes to 2 things that I think of. Number one, they have the load management rules now in play for the NBA. So you know the floor of games that you need to play and to qualify for all the awards and everything else, whatever. This goes to the insignificance of the NBA regular season. And Chad, it points to the fact that he's willing just to, oh, you know what? I'm taking a sick day. I'm gonna go watch my son play. And I also think that the health issue here is also going to help the perception of what he's doing with the debut for Bronny, compared to it's just his debut in college basketball.
Well, the health thing, fine. All right, I get part of that, but he's also been around him, as he's recovering. He's been practicing, and now he's going to be playing
right.
in the game.
He's been in LA. You're right.
LeBron James makes $49 million this season. Okay, he just signed a 2-year, $99+ million contract. $99 million of that, which is guaranteed money.
Look, we got to get with Clay Harbor as the NFL season moves along here. We're getting towards the end, 9-year NFL veteran, tight end with the Eagles and others. All right, last night, I almost, for the first time, I almost expected a coach to get fired at halftime. I did, Clay. That was a mess. What'd you see?
I mean, I saw what everybody else saw. I mean, I saw an embarrassment, and unfortunately for the Chargers, I mean, you're giving up 60 points in 3 quarters of football. It's basically an NFL record. I mean, that is hard to do, Dan. I've been on some bad teams. I played with the Jacksonville Jaguars for 4 years, okay? Trust me, that was not easy. Life was not easy for the Jaguars, but for them to just turn the ball over consistently, give up 60+ points. I mean, Brandon Staley, the writing's on the wall. I'm surprised he survived thus far, but there's going to be an announcement coming soon. The guy's underperformed. He's had a quarterback like Justin Herbert. Obviously, didn't have Herbert last night, but that shows you what happens without Herbert. Herbert's been the guy keeping the ship afloat. Now that Herbert's gone, the wheels are falling off, and you're starting to see Staley for who he really is, and I think that's a very, very average coach. So, unfortunately, for the Chargers fan, I think they're going to be in a rebuilding phase. Unfortunately for Justin Herbert, new coach, rebuild, and try to figure this thing out on the run.
I remember when everybody was telling me, and maybe they were right, maybe this has just gone so off the rails, but people were telling me in the preseason, this is an uber talented Chargers team. Like, Tom Telesco put together, everybody was telling me a great roster. It didn't look like a great roster the last few weeks.
Yeah, injuries, I don't know if it's always been like, it's always injuries, but they've had some big injuries, some of the receivers, and it's been tough for them. And obviously, you're talking about your quarterback. Then you had the Austin Eckler deal where he's not playing, he is playing, he wants to get the deal done. So there was a lot of distractions there, but this was supposed to be a very talented team. I mean, you got Eric Kendricks on defense. You got some big names on defense there. Asante Samuel Jr., Khalil Mack, this guy, perennial Pro Bowler. So for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked. And after that loss in the playoffs last season to the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they blew that 21-point lead and the Jaguars came back and won the game, just hasn't been right since. I think this is Brandon Staley's farewell tour, so hopefully he can get a chance to get a couple wins, go out with a good taste in his mouth. But I don't care if he wins the last 4 games, Dan. He's gone.
Gotta be. I tell you what, let me go. I don't know if I'm going the other direction. It's kind of the same. Eberflus in your city, the Bears. I'm going to say this, and you can tell me to go to hell. I'm not getting rid of Justin Fields. I don't care. He's a young. I'm not getting rid of Justin Fields. I want Justin Fields. I'm riding or dying with Justin Fields. Give me your take on this.
I'm with you, Dan. I think the Bears need to keep Justin Fields, need to build around him. You can trade that #1 pick, and you can get a haul like you did last year. Build this roster. To me, Caleb Williams ain't a sure thing. I mean, in this guy's attitude, you're crying to your mom on the side. Okay, whatever. But that's not a quarterback to me. I want a guy that's a leader, that's going to lead his general, leading his men into battle, a guy that you can look to. You're in the huddle. You trust this guy. He carries himself a certain way. He works hard. And that's Justin Fields. Justin Fields does all the things right, and he's getting better. He's improved every year. His completion percentage is improved every year. His quarterback rating is improved every year. His running ability is even improving. Obviously, you want him to see him throw the ball more. He's getting the ball out quicker. Trade the pick back. Maybe get a left tackle. Maybe get Marvin Harrison Jr. out of college, another weapon to pose DJ Moore. Then I think this defense has been playing well. And you look at the Bears, they're coming on strong these last few weeks. If you keep Eberflus, I think you do, since he's been calling the plays defensively as the defensive coordinator and the head coach. The defense has been a top 10 defense. This is the Bears, the worst defense in the league until Eberflus took over. Obviously, you get Montez Sweat in the building. That helps. You get Tremaine Edmonds back from injury. But I think the Bears are trending in a good direction, and they're actually not out. They got a 7% chance to make the playoffs this year, Dan. So, hey, crazier things have happened. 7% chance. It's like in Dumb and Dumber. So
Right.
you're telling me there's a chance.
Right.
Chance.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly. As soon as you said that 7% chance, that's
Yeah.
immediately where my mind went
Yeah.
to. It was like, so you're saying there's a chance, huh, Clay
Yeah.
Harbor?
Yeah.
But it amazes me that there are some guys that get on the wrong side of the media or whatever, and maybe they put themselves there and they can't get out. I watch Fields. I'm like, look, okay, last year's number one pick was Bryce Young. He's struggling. My guy here is hurt. I know C.J. Stroud's had a nice year, but they caught up to him a little bit these last. And Caleb Williams, to your point, I don't know. I don't like what he's become. This is an outsider view, but I don't need a guy crying. I don't need a guy I don't need a guy saying, I just want to go cuddle with my dogs. This is the NFL, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. No, I think, Fields has had ups and downs for sure. He's had struggles, but you see the flashes. You see the flashes of him throwing the ball, running the ball, and doing things that no other quarterback can do. And you look around the league, there's not a lot of quarterbacks getting it done like that. Even his draft class, everybody thought Trevor Lawrence was a sure thing. Trevor Lawrence has come back down to earth a little bit. You got Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson ain't playing that great. Obviously, you talk about Bryce Young last year. There's an alternate universe in which Ryan Poles didn't trade that pick and took Bryce Young. The Bears wouldn't have Darnell Wright. They wouldn't have DJ Moore. They wouldn't have Tyreek Stevenson, and they wouldn't have the first pick in the draft this year. If you make that pick with Bryce Young, I think that could be something similar with Caleb Williams. You can get this haul, a bunch of players, big time players, if you trade this pick. So trade the pick, surround Justin even more. He's shown he's improving, build it through him. And I know a lot of the talk is you reset the quarterback clock, Dan. So in the NFL, the quarterback, you get him for 5 years if you count the 5th year option on a decent contract. After that, even if you're an average quarterback, you're going to get paid just because you play quarterback. You look at Daniel Jones, like 3 years, $75 million contract. So if they did draft Caleb Williams, they'd get him on that rookie deal. You'd save some money. But the Bears have wanted a star quarterback for so long. I think you pay Justin Fields, you build around him, you build the defense, you build the O-line, and you just keep improving with this kid like he's been doing.
Yeah, they're in a unique situation, even though if they pay Fields because of the draft choices and the trades made, they can still stock a roster. That's the interesting thing. That doesn't happen very often. Pretty good move by Poles, at least as we sit here right now. I got to ask you, Kadarius Toney offsides. Mahomes loses his mind. Then he loses his mind as he's shaking hands. Now he apologizes. What? Give me your reaction first to the offsides. Should it have been called?
I think it's I wouldn't have called it. I'm not one of those zebras out there, those refs. I mean, they make some crazy calls, man. There's a disconnect between these guys because they look at the rule books and they're just strict white or black, no pun intended for the ref because they are, they're wearing the white and black. But there are certain situations where you don't make certain calls, in my opinion, as a football player, played football my whole life. In that situation, you see it early in the game, you give them a warning or you throw the flag. You say, hey, you're a foot offsides. At that point in the game, I don't make the call, but he was offsides. In the court of law, you go to the court of law, you're guilty. Okay, you're getting locked up. You're guilty. You did it, okay? So to me, you can't complain. And Patrick Mahomes, I get it. In games like that, your emotions that rush of excitement, then you come down, then you're up, then you're down. That emotion, you're fighting your hardest. You're in the midst of battle. You're going back and forth. And for me, I just always knew I'm not going to say anything if I'm feeling that way. So Mahomes is usually really good at that. Doesn't say nothing. I think they just got him at that moment where it's been a tough season for the Chiefs. He's had a bunch of receivers dropping balls. He's had to watch Taylor Swift half the year up in the booth hanging out with his wife in New York City and all this other crazy stuff. So Mahomes at the end of it, he's like, all of a sudden he just blew up. You know, I mean, it's been a crazy season for them with everything, all the outside stuff, the Taylor Swift. They're losing games. Receivers can't catch a ball. Marquez Valdez-Scantling dropping the wide open touchdown at the end of a game to lose the game. So I think it finally just caught up with him, and he needed somewhere to put that energy. And unfortunately, it was towards the refs, and then Josh Allen got a little bit of that at the end of the game.
Yeah, having been a complete maniac on the sidelines, I always excuse in-game conversation or just after the game. I always like, he just pissed off. I mean, hey, you can't hold anybody to those type of things, right? I've always thought that. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's tough, man. And honestly, I mean, you get in some moments where in the game, you start thinking about some of the stuff, the trash talk. You're seeing other players like, man, why did I say that? But
right.
It's just that competitiveness. Right. You're giving everything you got. I mean, you understand it. And then, right after the game, you got cameras in his face. He's going to the other quarterback. Guy, he wants to be worse than anything. One of his arch nemesis, rivals. And, we should have got that play. That was a BS call. And then he gets in the locker room too, and he's still chirping. And I got
a bigger question though.
Yeah.
When you play football, and I know the answer, okay? But I'm going to ask the question anyway. The play by Kelsey was awesome. Like, it was awesome. And I thought it was scripted, but it wasn't. Like, why don't, what? Clay's going out for a pass. He's going to get tackled in the sandlot. He pitches it to me at the, there should be more of that in the NFL. I know ball control, but if a guy's sitting there and I could just flip it to him as I'm going down, we need more of that. That was genius.
And these coaches, they like to micromanage sometimes, and that is just too much risk. I mean, you can give a guy like Kelsey the green light because the game has slowed down so much for him that he can make plays like that, but you don't want a rookie going out there trying to do some crazy stuff. You give him the green light to do that. I mean, it'll be the Harlem Globetrotters out there, Dan. So, I mean, I get where that sounds appealing and looks alluring on a lot of, you could probably make some really big plays out of that, but you would also, with those nice, big, huge plays, you're going to get some not top 10s. You're up there and, it looks
all right, but Clay Harbor is a 9-year vet. In your 9th year, come on, you flip it over there. You can run behind. Give me the ball. Let's go.
No, I get what you're saying, but I mean, there's going to be some turnovers, and coaches hate nothing more. You start turning the ball over, you're going to find yourself, you're going to be picking splinters out of your rear end. You start doing that.
It's like I made a behind-the-back pass one time on a fast break when I was playing for Bobby Knight at Indiana, and we were talking the next day. I go, Coach, I thought you'd be pissed about it. He goes, oh, you'd never played again if you threw it out of bounds. He goes, you never got back in a game ever. If that bad boy, I go, okay, fair enough.
No,
all right. Jamar Chase says he's the best wide receiver in the league. Who's the best wide receiver in the league to you?
I think Chase is good, but right now it's hard to argue with Tyreek Hill. I mean, just the numbers he's putting up. And he's not your prototypical big receiver. But, I mean, this dude is fast. I mean, he runs routes. He gets in and out of breaks. He stops on a dime. I love watching this guy play. And I also like, A.J. Brown's up there. Justin Jefferson, obviously, working through some injuries this year. But he's up there. But this season, I would put my, top 5 would probably be Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, even with the injuries, obviously when he's healthy, Justin Jefferson, and then I'd go maybe Jamar Chase.
Can Hill win the MVP?
I think the MVP is a quarterback. It's a quarterback award, and I get that Hill has done a good job, but they've kind of faltered down the stretch too. After that loss to the Titans, Will Levis. I mean, look at the game I think they were 90+% chance to win the game, 98, 97% chance to win. They end up losing. Okay, you can't let that happen. And now they got a tough schedule. They might find themselves on the outside looking in. It's possible. But the quarterback is such a difficult position to play, Dan. You are the commander of this team. You are in charge of everything. What goes with quarterback, that responsibility, I think that the MVP is, unless you're just absolutely game-changing in another position. I'm one of the guys, and trust me, I play tight end. I'm a position guy. But I know what goes into playing quarterback, and I think the quarterback, the signal caller, guy that touches the ball in every play, is the guy that should be the quarterback, should be the MVP.
Who's best team in the league?
The easy question for the best team. I think the discussion starts happening when you get to 2 and 3, but I think honestly the two best, it goes San Francisco and then Dallas. Right now, Dallas has shown that they beat the Eagles pretty bad, and they've been on a hot streak, and they've been playing some good football. Then after that, I go with the Ravens at 3. And then I think it's, obviously you saw the Chiefs lose. The Chiefs might be there at 4. The Eagles might be there at 4 or 5. So rotate between Chiefs and Eagles. And then after that, who knows? Jaguars are losing. You got the Dolphins aren't who they were. The Bills, had a big win. So there's a log jam after the top 4, I think.
It's interesting. You mentioned the Cowboys. It's like nobody believes the Cowboys until we see it in the postseason.
Yeah.
Nobody, right?
But it feels different this year. I've been a guy that says, hey, the Cowboys, they won a playoff game last year. They go to 49ers and just get obliterated. But this year, to me, feels different. Watching this team can play. Dak Prescott, he's an MVP candidate, in my opinion. I'm an Eagles. I got drafted by the Eagles, Dan. I do not like the Cowboys. In my blood, when I see that blue and silver, I do not like them. It just a hate comes in my heart just watching the Cowboys. Used to play against them when I was on the Eagles. But this team's good. They got a solid defense. Obviously you got this talented offense. CeeDee Lamb, he's getting Brandon Cooks involved. Jake Ferguson, the tight end there, is becoming an old school Jason Witten. This guy, I can tell you, is a tight end. He's got all the tools. This guy can play. He can run. He can catch. He can block. He can do everything you need to. And they got a decent little run game, too. And Dak is playing good football defensively. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, these guys are getting pressure. Deron Bland, 6 interceptions for touchdowns. This Dallas football team, unfortunately, as an Eagles guy, I think besides 49ers, the best team in the league.
I agree. I agree. It feels different. But when everybody I talk to, I don't care. They got to do it in the playoffs. All right.
And they did win a playoff game last year against Tom Brady. Obviously, it was Tom Brady in a wheelchair, rolling around out there, 65 years old. But still, they won a playoff game. It's not like he just completely disappeared when he got to the playoffs. Yes, he didn't go to the Super Bowl. But, hey, one team from each conference goes to the Super Bowl. He did win a playoff game, and he showed he could do that. They played great football to beat Tom Brady in the playoffs. I don't care if it was, Tom Brady, a skeleton of Tom Brady. He still beat him.
I agree. I agree totally. We just, it's like, I don't know if it's Jerry World or Jerry Jones and the expectations, but if it's like, I don't know why they're Super Bowl or bust and everybody else gets praised for winning a playoff game or making the playoffs, but the Dallas Cowboys have become that team. Like the guy in golf that's really good but never won a major. Everybody's like, I don't care if he wins, 10 tournaments. You got to win a major. That's what it is with the Dallas Cowboys, fair or unfair. I don't.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think if they get home field advantage I don't think they're going to get the bye, but if they get home field advantage, they are tough to beat at home. They've scored 40 points in their last, I think, 5 home games. It's pretty incredible what the streak they've been on, and looking at it, it looks good. Like, I can tell when a football team's maybe catching a break here or there, they are efficient. They are quick. They have a good quality offense. Everybody's on the same page. Unless an injury happens to Ferguson, Lamb, Prescott, I think that they're a team that's going to be there at the end.
Hey, man, I love talking to you, Clay. Thanks for coming on.
Well, appreciate it, Dan. My pleasure.
That was a good time. Hey, I'm with him. I'm with Clay. I'm totally with Clay. You see there what a great catch, just kicking the Bills' ass, making the Bills cry right there. Clay Harbor with the with the crap. Hey, we are sitting here waiting. We're waiting for the alert that says Brandon Staley fired. We haven't come down. It's like the white smoke coming out of the Vatican. We thank Clay for coming on. Tyrus, Planet Tyrus is going to join us. You see him, you know him, you love him on Fox News. I can't wait to talk to him about Terrell Owens and other things. Viewer emails coming up. I did not get to a story that I wanted to about what Zac Taylor, the coach of the Bengals, had to say. Calling all OutKick fans starting January 3rd. It's the only place to catch OutKick's original and unfiltered shows live. Will be right there on the OutKick website. You'll be able to catch up on YouTube. You certainly can, but for all your live unfiltered content, head to the watch tab at outkick.com so you don't miss a beat in 2024. You see the lovely Kelly in Vegas there. Hot mic going on. Fade with Kelly and Clark. Gains for Girls, the 5 spot. All of our shows are on outkick.com/watch. It'll be your one-stop shop for all things OutKick. That's outkick.com/watch.
Last week in Las Vegas, a white high school student died after he was brutally beaten to death by a group of 15 teens, most of whom were black. And what was the reason, the excuse for this mob of thugs to pummel this boy to death? Well, 17-year-old Jonathan Lewis was reportedly targeted after he attempted to stand up for a smaller friend after that friend was robbed by the group before they threw him in the trash can. When Jonathan tried to get his friend's stolen item back, the mob turned on him and beat him into unconsciousness as he lay there curled up in a ball on the ground. The mob continued to punch and kick him even after he was out cold. Instead of helping Jonathan or calling the police, bystanders instead recorded the video and circulated it on social media. This has become the norm and standard practice, and that in and of itself is gut-wrenching. This is how young people behave in 2023. Content is king, and people, innocent people, are nothing but fodder for views, clicks, and entertainment. No morals, no conscience, no humanity. And of all the articles that have come out about the tragic and senseless bludgeoning of Jonathan Lewis, I haven't seen a single one mention race. I think we all know that if a group of predominantly white teens beat a black teen to death, cries of racism would reverberate from the New York Times to the Washington Post and back. The cries of racism would be deafening. But since it was a white boy attacked by a mob of mostly black kids, race is suddenly not an important part of the story. And the same thing goes for the Las Vegas teens who rammed a stolen vehicle into retired police chief Andreas Probst. Race left out of the coverage there again. Why? Convenient how that works, isn't it? I guess White Lives Matter doesn't raise billions in donations quite like the fraud scheme that was in his BLM Inc. But these attacks against white people are not unusual. They're not an anomaly. They just don't get coverage.
You know him, you love him, you see him all the time. Former NWA World Heavyweight Champ, Planet Tyrus joins us. Appreciate you taking a few minutes. I got to ask you before we move along. Did you see that football game last night?
There wasn't much to see. But here, when I played the game, we always had a rule, whether it was by 3 or 300, it's still an L. But the pick six was probably one of the worst plays I've seen a quarterback make in a long time. I'm talking like you got to go to like first-year Pop Warner quarterback to see a guy throw that. He was already in the air before the ball left his hand. But that's just the Chargers, right? They have all the talent. They should be in it every year, and they just always find a way. Either they get out the gate, they take 6 games off, and then they end up, missing the playoffs by a game, and they're in a tough division. But just at some point, you got to ask what's going on with the coach.
It's pretty. I saw Richard Sherman say last night, "Make history, fire the coach at halftime." That would make history.
I'm sure the GM was pulling the contract in the
Guarantee
office. He was looking at what their options were. But you know what? This has been the NFL this year. It's been a lot of blowouts. I mean, the Dolphins put a 70-piece up. I mean, we're seeing New England can't score a touchdown to save their life, and then they're playing Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden they're reinventing the West Coast offense. So it's just been a really weird football year. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing these blowouts, but the reactions of the head coach, no one gets mad anymore. No one throws a hat off or, playoffs. We don't. It's just, it happens. What are you gonna do? Yeah, I think that bothers me most of all. If your coach isn't upset at not showing up for a game, then why should you be?
It's funny you say that. I had a couple of friends over that were watching, and Staley did the halftime, and he went with that whole, we got a good group here. No, you got a shit group here. You're down 49-0. No.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better not to do the interview.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a bigger statement. Let me
ask you a couple questions. Let me ask you, Shohei Ohtani ends up going to L.A. Buster Posey and others are saying, hey, look, man, a lot of people turned off by what's going on right now in San Francisco. I've said for years, athletes, everybody says you got to go play in New York. Yeah, maybe you do, except that there's a lot of income tax. It's hard if you play for the Knicks. You're living in Westchester. You're driving down here. The personal element, particularly with a guy's wife, comes in. Give me your thoughts on how Major League Baseball players or NFL or NBA players may or may not like to live in a city like San Francisco anymore.
Well, it's not even just San Francisco. I mean, look what's happening in Washington, D.C.
Right.
I mean, they're like, we're out. San Francisco, first of all, just driving to work is a battle. The homeless crisis is unbelievable there. It's literally if you haven't been to San Francisco or anywhere near those areas right now, it is literally a walking minefield of human feces. That is not an over-exaggeration. The criminal element, you go to a Walgreens, a tube of toothpaste, you got to get a coupon for it, scan it, and they'll mail it to your home. So, and as a successful professional sports athlete driving a newer car into the stadium every week, you're going to have all kinds of issues. Fans aren't coming to the games anymore because they don't feel safe. Once great San Francisco at one time was one of the most beautiful cities in the world, not just the States. Like, people came in all over the world, and then you're paying those higher taxes. And I grew up in California, but the spinoff was, one, you have great scenery, great weather, and great opportunities outside the field. So you're going to get more commercials, you're going to get more opportunities to do movies and things like that. And those things aren't there anymore. And then when you look at your leadership, and when the governor's pressed or the mayor's pressed, their answer is, it's capitalism. That's why we have the homeless problem. It's not why we have the homeless problem. It's poor, not supporting law enforcement, not getting people off the streets. And then, of course, you blame it. And every time an athlete does something, then he's under a microscope because he's not doing enough in the community to help them. So it makes and you got a baseball player like Ohtani, why even put yourself? His life is already a circus. He's got 2 countries watching everything he does. Why even put yourself in a situation like San Francisco? You have the same issues in LA, but there's this thing about LA. Los Angeles is so vast that you can get away from a lot of stuff pretty easy. And when you're going to Dodger Stadium, it's more protected. The homeless tend to be more in like the downtown area and more towards the beach side of things. So it's not as bad. And of course, LA, Hollywood is still a place where LeBron James came to the Lakers for a reason. So the lucrative opportunities in LA for someone like him is unbelievable. But to be honest with you, man, I thought the Red Sox had a shot. We had his best friend playing, we traded a good left field. I'm like, okay, what are we doing, fellas? Like, we gonna make this happen? I mean, the Yankees are getting everybody under the damn sun, except the guy who can get on base regularly. But the Dodgers keep getting better, but for some reason, they should have 6 World Series right now. They should be one of the greatest dynasties, just based off bankroll. And whoever the next big superstar is in Atlanta, he'll end up with the Dodgers. So the Dodgers keep getting better, but I wouldn't play in DC or San Francisco or Chicago. It's just not worth the risks to your family, to your income, to just having to see that every day. So you can't be mad at them. San Francisco and Posey's right. And I wouldn't. Hey, Posey, Red Sox is beautiful. It's the weather's not as good, but you're going to have. You got the Fenway Park, so that should add about another 10 home runs to you. Just putting it out there.
See, I was hoping to Cub. I grew up in Gary, Indiana. Cub fan my whole life.
Oh,
I saw a report that says he's on the plane to, let's go. I want appointment TV with Ohtani. But you're absolutely right. I mean, people discount the personal aspect. Hey, Tyrell Owens is saying that the Kaepernick protest shed light on how white people view African Americans. You got any thoughts on that?
I don't subscribe to the groupthink. Colin Kaepernick he's created a lot of his own issues, and it's funny they point out white people when we use that term. I hate it. Group think tank, individuals. Most Americans, black, white, brown, yellow, are patriotic, and when they disagree with somebody, they speak on it. Colin took the knee at the time. I supported his right to do so, but I had the same thought where I would never do that honoring our country, because it's our country that we're all able to do what we do, to do things like play football, basketball, wrestle, sit on a show and get paid to give my opinion. That's what America is all about. You're born in a country, in most countries, wherever you're born into, that's your fate. If you're born into a bakery and your father's a baker, you're going to be a baker, or less than. In America is the only place where you can go 0 to hero in a decade. In some cases, you're 18, and next thing you know, you're a millionaire. That's only in America, baby. So white people people say shit now to get attention. Terrell Owens hasn't been in the limelight for a while. He's run out of arena football teams to play for. So, saying white people have a problem with Kaepernick, no. People have a problem. And you know what? White people are also the ones who supported him. Who do you think was cutting those checks at Nike for him? Who do you think was giving him those opportunities, shooting documentaries for him? Who do you think adopted and raised him? White people. And the thing about white people now is that you can spit in their face and they just take it. And we're seeing racism on large scales in just shocking manners towards white Americans, because white Americans have been on this dumpology tour for the last 5 years, where they're getting blamed for everything, means anything from you're an oppressor, you own slaves, etc. And it's just the dumbest stuff I've ever heard in my life. Having someone apologize today for slavery, genetically, you don't even know if you were white 437 years ago. It's idiot. So Terrell, you say it now and everyone rallies around you, but it's an ignorant thing to say, because there is no white group that is actively going out after that is the white nationalists. That's an individual sport. We don't see anybody winning who's in the Ku Klux Klan right now. But here's the thing: you keep spitting in white America's face and rubbing it in and blaming all your problems on them, it's going to go from okay to enough. And you want segregation. We see it in the mayor in Boston had a minorities only party with 15 members and was apologizing because they got the email, because she wanted to have secret meetings. We used to have secret meetings in this country, and now we wanted equality, we got it, and now we're seeing it was never about equality for a lot of these so-called liberal progressives. It was about advantage. So Terrell, that's irresponsible. I've been around him a few times. I was at an All-Star game with him and Snoop. I talked to him a few times. I think it was when Super Bowl was in Houston. He's a good, smart, intelligent brother. Does a lot of positive things. But whenever you hear that, man, it's such a in wrestling we call it a cheap pop, and it's irresponsible.
Hey, I want to go back to something. I want to go back to cities real quick before I let you go. Who do you blame? And I'm going to go to this. San Francisco decided to clean up, for a genocidal maniac coming over from China. They decided to clean that up. They don't clean it up for their own people. They cleaned it up in like 10 minutes. Everybody talks about Soros-owned prosecutors. And in our city here in Indianapolis, police chief told me, he goes, look, Dan, this guy, our prosecutor, is killing people. He's literally killing people, and all of the communities, African American, white, whatever, are like pissed off. But somehow this guy's on. Who do you blame for what's going on in our city?
It's our success. It's our equality, which has opened the door for socialism under the camouflage of progressive Democrats. And you have to break down the families, you have to break down the workforce, that's what socialism is. And we're seeing this, they get in, and it's also a reverse racism and it's not just, it's a classism. Racism isn't the right term. It's you can't do anything without us. So you'll see all these elitists, they live outside the cities, they have their own security teams, they have 3 different police forces in their neighborhoods, sheriffs, police, and then an adjoining connecting. But the city that they govern in, there is no police officers. Like in my home state of Louisiana, New Orleans, at one point, the city of New Orleans, again, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, was down to around 850 officers for a city, which means no night shift, which means the dinner bell's ringing. And it's in the name of socialism, but they don't have the balls to call it for what it is. And that's why we're seeing these elitists, and they're not just white people. It's not just George Soros. It's you look at these attorneys, that it's these equity hires who are not qualified to get in these positions based off the way they look. And that is just as bad as a Jim Crow thing. Well, listen, we need to hire 4 black guys to put in front of the TV screen while we do our nefarious stuff in the back. And that's what we're seeing. These equity hires get in. They're loyal to the people who got them the job, who cover up their stuff, and they wouldn't get hired. The best and brightest aren't getting hired. We see it in Harvard. They put her there because she will do what they want her to do and say all the shit, irresponsible stuff. And they'll be like, well, but we hired her. We put her in there. And there's literally somebody who the woman that she plagiarized off of was overqualified to be a great dean of students. But because she was a conservative African-American, she's disqualified. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's just these elites and their socialism, and they want to play with the American people because the unaffected love to affect. And that's the biggest problem, because we've got so spoiled, we've gotten so fat in this country that we don't have real threats. Although you keep that border open, we're going to start getting real threats. And all of a sudden, what's funny is the white people you're bashing and the successful conservative Black Americans and Hispanics that you're bashing are the ones you're going to be running to, because it's our families that enlist in the Army. It's our families that become police officers and firefighters. We don't have time to protest and stop a freeway calling for ceasefires. You know what I'm saying? So it's funny. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
That is one of my life's philosophies. I got a couple. Be careful what you wish for. No good deed goes unpunished. Those 2 things,
that's true.
I'm telling you, brother, those 2 things have been in my mind for a long, long time. When are we going to see you next on TV? Where you at? Today, tomorrow, when?
I'm in New York today, which means we got Gutfeld tonight. Last night, I broke the internet and the TV. If you didn't catch the episode, it's up on my we were talking about that situation with the mayor, and Greg went to me first, and I said, you went to me first because I was Black. I'm tired of this. So I made a Black zone fort on the TV show, and it's a huge laugh, and it got a really good. But I also made a point. See, that's what's wrong with white America right now. I just made a completely racist fort that white people weren't allowed in, and you laughed and cheered for. for it. So again, get it together. Stop taking this stuff. But we got Gutfeld tonight, and it's our Friday night, so we got the jokes that didn't get used this week. So you'll see me that, and then of course you'll catch me Tuesday through Fridays on Gutfeld, and I'm on America's Newsroom, Fox and Friends. My new book is out, Enough Said. 2 times New York Times bestseller now, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I'm getting ready for Christmas. I got all my kids home for Christmas, so I'm excited.
Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you.
Always, anytime, man. You know what? I went to Fox News building, man. I crave talking sports, man. Anytime. You know, my Celtics are undefeated at home.
Yeah.
I'm scared to death because we only got 6 guys, no bench. Like, we just don't get it. So I think we're going to have the best record out in the first round again if we don't get some depth. Why is DeMarcus
like my Pacers?
Cousins?
You got to like my Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton.
What was funny is everyone was saying Sacramento Kings got a steal. And I was like, wait till that kid gains 8 or 10 pounds. You wait. And even that, like the Celtics, we let Nesbitt go because he was stuck in that. He was, we had Brown, we had Tatum, and we had him coming off the bench, and obviously he needed more minutes. And I saw moments where I was like, I don't know if we should be getting rid of this dude. I think we should find him. We got lucky because we got Mr. White, but we keep trading away these guys that we give up on, and Indiana just kind of brings them in, and they're all long, young, and can shoot. 5 to 1 can all shoot. So Indiana, I think, is going to be Indiana and Orlando will probably give the league a run for money, the most improved team. But I think Halliburton's got a little ice in his veins. Like, I think he can, with 3 on the clock, he can hit that 3 because he gave. I thought we were going to walk in the tournament because we smoked Indiana. But see, the thing is, Celtics have one guy, but we have one guy. Porzingis sits out. We can't block or rebound. So, because for some reason, DeMarcus Cousins is not a Celtic. I don't understand. Like, guys, what are we waiting for here? He's out there. He can rebound. He's physical. Like, what are we doing? But you guys have it all. Indiana is
the one thing we don't do though in the playoffs, and you got to guard somebody. Like, we don't guard nobody, brother. We don't guard anybody.
But that comes with youth.
I know.
That comes with youth. I think they're going to get tired. The Celtics got to the finals and got bullied by Golden State. They got bullied. And that was, Marcus Smart didn't. Hartford didn't. But everyone else got bullied. And it happened to Michael with the Pistons, where he had enough of it and he told the whole team, we got to go work out all summer. We're all going to the gym. And it looks like the Indiana said at the end of last year, guess what? We're all going to go shoot the ball all summer. We're sticking together because they're an exciting. It's a wonderful NBA season right now. It really is. Like, and I watched another one was talking trash about the Clippers. They're what, 14 and 10 now. So they've won 11 out of the last 12. I mean, they're just it's a good time, man. LeBron wins something else.
Draymond Green, when's he coming back? Your best guess. Next year? End of the season?
You know what sucks? Green would be a great Celtic. Just putting that out there. Guys, if you're tired of him, send him to Boston. We need some toughness. He's going to do the anger management. Draymond's a brilliant guy, but he's just from a different era. He wouldn't even be in trouble if he was playing during the Bad Boys era. He'd probably make an extra all-star team. Rick Mahorn would be like, that's it? That's all you got? And Rasheed Wallace talked about it was his fault. It was the Pistons' fault because Dream grew up in that culture. You make mistakes. The game's changed. It's a shooter's league now. He'll do his classes. He'll figure it out. And, the only thing I worry about is I think maybe the frustration is come from father time a little bit. Draymond's footwork and quickness made up for his lack of size. And now guys are able to move around him, which happens, because you can't play the physicality that he played for as long as he's playing without starting to lose a step. The only guy who defies father time is LeBron James, who I hate with a passion for one reason, because he's never been a Celtic. But so Draymond's going to learn from this, and he'll be back. But don't think he's going to stop playing the way he's playing.
Right.
That's never going to happen.
Do you ever? I got to know Ricky Mahorn, and I couldn't believe what a nice dude he was. Like, I'm sitting there going, oh, man. And he would laugh. We would laugh. And honest to God, I'm like, wait, you're supposed to be like mean and like, nicest dude ever.
Here's a spoiler alert. The toughest men in the world are nice. You know why? Because we're tough. The guy who's screaming and firing up in the bar is afraid.
Right.
He's doing the peacock display because Rick would be like, if you want to fight, he'll get a smirk because he doesn't mind fighting because he can fight. So whenever the guy smiles at you, just fellas, I don't condone this, but if you're in a bar and you decide to pick on somebody, the guy who looks back at you and smirks, leave him alone.
Yeah, run away.
Look for the guy who beats on his chest, his face gets red, he's already exhausted. That's the guy you want to get. Again, not condoning.
Right.
Everybody get along, but if you must, that's the thing. Stop watching Hollywood. The guy with the loud mouth is the scariest dude in the room.
Well, Lambeer was a dick in person, but Ricky Mahorn was the nicest dude ever.
But who did Bill Lambeer end up running behind all the time? Rick Mahorn.
Right. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You did.
An instigator's different. Bill Lambeer was an instigator.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Rick Mahorn was a finisher. Edwards was a finisher. Rodman was a finisher. So
Isaiah was a finisher. Isaiah didn't run behind. He would instigate, but
no one messed with Isaiah either. Vinny Johnson. Like I hated the Detroit Pistons, but the bad boys were exactly that. There was Charles Oakley's another guy, nicest guy in the world. Because
Michael Jordan told me one time of all the people in the NBA, the guy I would never mess with was Charles Oakley.
Even
all these other guys, never mess with
even when the Knicks were giving him drama, they didn't kick him out. They asked him to leave.
Right.
Like there's a difference.
Yeah, there's a big difference. Hey man, appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
Anytime, boss. Anytime.
That's our friend Planet Tyrus. You can see him. You see him right there, man. He's so right. It's like the guy in the war, right? The guy comes back from war, does the least talking, probably has 3 Purple Hearts. The guy that does all the talking, wears a Purple Heart because he got shot in the ass. Hey, great job, Beth. Thank you to everybody on our show that was involved in getting Tyrus on. It's a good time. That's a really good time. Hey, I want to get to something that I didn't get to earlier. Cincinnati Bengals head coach Zac Taylor. Zac Taylor is talking about, the crowd. He says the crowd, now this is getting to be end cutting time, right? The Cincinnati Bengals just beat the Colts to put himself in the mix a little bit, even without Joe Burrow. Browning's becoming a star. The defense is playing well. Zac Taylor believes this. He believes the crowd is going to play a major role coming up here. They got the Vikings coming in, a winnable game. He wants to keep things simple. Says crack open an extra beer and drink more before you get into the game. Let's hear from Zach Brown.
I do challenge our fans. We got outstanding fans to, drink one more drink and rush in the stadium and be as loud as you can humanly possibly be when Minnesota's offense is out there and help our guys. And that is a critical element that we get this home field advantage. We're not playing on the road this week. If we were playing in Minnesota, it would be a real problem. And so Minnesota's here. Let's make it a real problem for them.
Yeah, man, let's get it going. I always got a story. I'll never forget our assistant AD. We had it going at Bowling Green, man. We had kids lined up. There were parties. They were tailgating for basketball games. Kegs and Eggs crew. I'd drive by them, and they'd cheer me, all this kind of stuff. And guys would get hammered. Kids would get hammered. And our assistant AD, even though it was windy as hell and guys' faces were red, man, oh, man. Frickin' assistant AD was not letting some kids in. I'm like, let everybody in. The drunker, the better. You kidding me? I want a lively crowd. What, are you out of your mind? Anyway, man, I want the drunker, the better. So there you go. How about that? There you go. Drunker, the better. Be right back.
What would you be willing to sacrifice for a Tennessee Vols championship?
My wife.
Your wife,
Give her
okay.
up in a second. I'd let you take my whole left foot. My whole left.
The whole left foot.
The entire thing. Take it off.
Can we go up to the knee?
Like, as long as I can use, like, not just below the knee. Below the knee.
A lot. A lot. It's been tough being a Tennessee fan since '98. I mean, I wouldn't give up like my firstborn or anything, but close to it.
I think your son said he was willing to sacrifice his entire left foot.
Well, he gave up his left foot. Well, I give up my right foot. We could that way hobble along. He'd have the left, I'd have the right. Well, first of all, where Tennessee beat Alabama 52-49 last year, I gave up a marriage for her.
What do you think the punishment should be for Michigan and Jim Harbaugh?
Oh, God. They need a couple years of post, like, bowl game ban. Absolutely, without a question, if everything comes to fruition. And if they're giving information to South Carolina about Clemson and Tennessee from last year, I say you just disband the entire program.
Death penalty?
Get rid of them. Get rid of them. They don't deserve it.
Ohio State should beat them for the next 30 years in every sport.
I mean, that's even worse than not getting to compete in a national championship.
Yeah, but cheaters don't deserve to compete for a national championship, especially a guy like Harbaugh. Send him to the Bears so he can try and steal some signals there and see what happens to him then.
I think they gave our signs to South Carolina last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's beyond that. It's beyond what they've even uncovered yet. They caused us to miss the Final Four last year by giving the signs. Like, he should be fired. He should be fired.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Screencaps. Screencaps with OutKick's Joe Kinsey. You see it right there, all the pretty ladies. Hey, Joe, before I get to Screencaps, I'm playing golf in an hour with Urban Meyer. You're an Ohio State fan. Give me a question you want asked of Urban Meyer.
I know he's a giant Put-in-Bay guy. Best Put-in-Bay story Urban Meyer can tell on.
I don't think we can get into that.
Digital TV. Best story.
I don't think we can get into that.
Story. All right. Sorry.
Are we having a blast from the past here? Is it going to be? Am I going to see Cindy Crawford? Am I going to see Cindy Crawford in this?
I hope so. I hope they picked it out. The team might have picked that one out.
What do we got here, boys? We seen Cindy Crawford. Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
Dan, what a week. Cindy Crawford, right in your age bracket, I must say. I didn't know that. I thought Cindy might have been in the mid-50s, but she's right there, early 60s, and Cindy Crawford looking amazing in her, I think it's her bed, I don't know. But anyway, she's taking a call. Old school, Dan. When's the last time you saw somebody take a phone call with a cord?
Joe, I wonder if you even know what that is, Joe. Not the woman, not the sheets, not the bed, but do you see the thing on the phone to her left or right? That's called a dial, Joe.
Dan,
that's a dial.
I'm not a millennial or a Gen Zer, Dan. I know what that thing is on her bed. I used to use one of those, but
you did?
Don't think I'm that young, Dan. Come on, give me some credit here. I'm old.
All right. You look so young, though, Joe. And I do. Cindy
right.
Crawford, there's something to the imagination, what she's wearing under that, what's going on there. That gets a guy my age blood going right there. That, you guys can have all these young little girls trying, but not me. Give me some sophistication, Joe. I like a little sophistication, and that's a sophisticated picture right there.
It was a big week for Cindy Crawford. I need to see more of that. Brooke Burke was last week. Cindy Crawford this week. Love where we're taking Screencaps.
I feel like we always have Hannah C. Palmer on this show.
Dan, I think your producers are in love with Hannah C. Palmer. I didn't request this. I know that she's been on week after week after week, and I just let the crew take over. I let them decide, and they have decided that Hannah C. Palmer is one of their favorites.
What makes her one of everybody's favorite, Joe? What are you seeing here out of Hannah C?
Well, it's the mysterious nature of Hannah C. Palmer. I think it's the middle initial. If it was just Hannah Palmer, I feel like it would be just another model. But I think the middle name initial is what does it for the guys. I think that's what they key in on. They're mysterious. It's a mysterious woman.
Okay. All right. Hey, if you say so. That's mysterious right there. Is that Russian? I'll tell you this, silicone is a good thing. Taylor Moreland. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. There's not much there. There's not much fabric there, Joe.
One of the up-and-comers that is going to be a star. I have seen a little bit out of Taylor Moreland, but she must have just got done taking a new photo set. Dan, she's dumping them out one at a time, keeping the algorithm going. You know how to control the algorithm. You know what she's doing. It's a game plan. She does it very well.
With very little to wear. I mean, look, that is about, I'm going to take a picture of that and get my wife to buy that bikini. That thing is not very big.
No.
Certainly don't want my daughter walking around in it, but hey, all right, we're going to class it up a little bit. We're going to class it up with Tiffany Gomez. We're going to class this joint up. Looky there. Look.
You know Tiffany Gomez. You know who she is. She's the one that was on the airplane yelling about that blank is not real. You know the video, Dan. That's Tiffany. That is her this year. She's had a huge second half of 23. She is now a viral hit. She is one of the most desired women in the world now. I can't believe it, but guys, again, are into these bad girl, mysterious women. Hannah C. Palmer, Tiffany Gomez. I guess that's how you say her name.
Wait,
but anyway,
that's the woman on the plane? That's the
her.
woman that was pointing on the plane about green things going to eat her or something?
That's her. That's her. That's why guys are crazy about her. She's crazy, Dan. They love the crazy ones. They don't want to marry them. They just want to date them.
Well, I mean, I don't even think that looks even. I mean, she got a little makeover, huh? She went and got the cosmetologist because that don't look. I mean, I guess you're telling me that's the woman pointing on the plane.
That is her. That is her, Dan. She has been hot. She has been a big viral success. Got a makeover, and now look at her.
Joe, what do you think a makeover would cost for you and me?
I'm helpless, Dan. Probably $10,000. My wardrobe is straight out of Costco. I work at home. Dan, you work at home. You know what I'm talking about. You can wear pretty much whatever. So go ahead.
I just need a little of that. Just put those eyes up a little bit.
Does QC Kinetics do that?
Huh?
Does QC Kinetics do it?
Oh, no. And then, or maybe this. Maybe squeeze the head up. I don't know, Joe. I want to look like Tiffany Gomez. What's Chef Andrew Gruel got going? What's the look at this thing? Now we're talking, Jose.
Yeah, Andrew Gruel, he's a big Fox News contributor, and we love him at Screencaps. And I'll tell you why, is because this guy, Dan, he shows the food. You probably shouldn't eat it. You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that we shouldn't eat it, but look at the beauty of it, Dan. They're going to try to raise the red meat taxes on us, Dan, to make us stop eating red meat. We cannot let them do that. We gotta respect these photos of cheeseburgers. You know, Bill Gates, he's trying to make us stop eating red meat, so he controls all the meat market, Dan. Nonsense. We have to respect Andrew Gruel and the meats that he provides.
You know, Joe, the carnivore diet has proven to be pretty good for people. Meat, more meat, less nonsense, more meat. All right, Annie Agar, yeah, there it is, and that's meat. That looks like a damn sando right there. Huh. Annie Agar, I'll give you credit here, Joe, or not. I mean, this is a funny one from Annie. I'm more like, Annie likes to post stuff, but she's an up-and-comer.
Annie is a rising star. I can't believe she's still at Bally Sports. Her contract must be like 5 years long. I can't believe she hasn't been poached by anybody else. But she is one of the big stars. She's funny on the internet. She knows what to do to control the algorithm. I keep coming back to that, but you have these days, Dan, you know it. You have to control the algorithm. This week, she comes out with this one from the Bills-Chiefs game. I mean, this is great. You know Practical Jokers, the show, and it's just really well done. That is funny stuff. That's comedy, Dan, on the internet.
I like comedy on the internet, Joe. I do. I think that's it, Joe. I think that's all we got.
Dan, enjoy the golf today. I know you're going to hit them. I know you might have a 19th hole beer. Enjoy it, Dan. You've earned it.
Thanks, Joe. Every day, there it is. Screencaps, ladies and gentlemen. Screencaps with Joe Kinsey, content director of, well, all the greatness that is going on here with our little shows. See it every day, by the way. By the way, our show after the first of the year, you're going to catch it on OutKick.com where we are unrestricted. It'll be wild. Sean Black chimes in from our YouTube chat as we go to late in the week emails. Who was the idiot coach that took the game ball in the Pacers-Buck game, and why would an assistant for an opposing team take a game ball, especially after their team lost? There's video of it. It seems very strange considering Giannis had a historic game and the Pacers were the away team. I'm not mad at Giannis losing his ever-loving mind for an assistant being a total idiot, in my humble opinion. That was that guy Pierce, social justice warrior, who social justice warriored his way into being the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons or Atlanta Hawks, and everybody with Atlanta knew he was a fraud. Now he's with the Pacers, and he's a philosopher. They got the game ball for the kid, Oscar Tshiebwe, so that he could have a game ball for his first NBA game. It's something Rick Carlisle and the team do, and that's cool. But it is an away game. He did have 64 points, him being Giannis. He did lose his mind. It's just more nonsense from the NBA. All you got to do is say, hey, man, we'd like a game ball for this kid. Did we have one? Yeah, let's go. I mean, it's not that hard. But I'm with you, Sean. I mean, why is an assistant coach doing that? Let's just deal with it. And then everybody's got to be the philosopher. No, everybody's got to be the hold back guy. And you know what I say? Next time an NBA player goes at an NBA player, just let him fight. Just let him fight. Let's not even mess around. Just let him throw hands, put him in the middle. Coach Knight, Harris Mujazinovic, Sharon Wilkerson, he put us all around him, and they fought. Now, unfortunately for Harris, he got his mouth or face broke by Sharon. But hey, no one wanted to fight anymore. It was a stupid thing that Knight did, but what are you going to do? Hey, Dan, this is from Sam S. I'd like to point out how brave LeBron James is by refusing to stand for the national anthem. He's disrespecting the same country that has allowed him to catapult into superstardom and to earn tens of hundreds of millions, no, billion, to support his family. Where can I sign up for some of that systematic racism that he's faced in his multi-million-dollar life of mansions, Ferraris, and side chicks? Don't ever discount the side chick with LeBron James. I know we're not supposed to say it, but that's you. I got a picture of one of the girls. Anyway, the side chick action, look, I'm sure there was a time LeBron James faced racism. I'm sure there is, but it certainly wasn't when he painted racist things on his own house. And then, of course, all of the evidence came out that said this wasn't true. That was John Thompson Sr. back in the 70s. He did that at Georgetown, forcing Georgetown to keep him. And then John Thompson's son, Ronnie, tried to do it at Ball State, and they laughed at him. But anyway, LeBron James going LeBron James. And, yeah, the bravery is stunning. You know, I don't think we're being unfair. All you got to do, yes, I understand LeBron James. For those of you that don't know what happened, he came into his son's game at halftime, which is great. Or excuse me, before the game, when everybody was standing for the anthem, which is great, with his hat out and just sat down on the bench or on the front row seat because that's who he gets to be. Yeah, it was gross. I thought maybe they just took a picture of him sitting and then he stood up, and apparently he sat the entire time. Look, those of us that actually have respect for our country, we take our hats off, even if we are in the lobby at Nissan Stadium and the anthem is played. Oh, man, you know, our Warriors fought for LeBron to be able to do that. Sure, they did. And they also fought for me to be able to say what a jackass he is for doing that. That's what I got. You can have a different opinion. Good for you. As I say, 350 million different people in this country, and we should have difference of opinion. The great John Buzzard chimes in. Dan, you mentioned fears on your show. One of those fears being some kind of infection from bugs crawling in your, not an infection, brain-eating bugs in Rod Sterling's Night Stalker. I have two irrational fears. One is purely based on watching the horror movie Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't like intense dreams and don't want any weirdos interrupting my sleep. The second is water park slides, not the slides themselves, but the super high staircases. My kids are nuts, and I'm always worried the railing is broke or someone is going to lean and fall. Doesn't mean I don't sleep or go to water parks. I'm just a nervous wreck. Great show as always. Buzzard family wishes everyone a Merry Christmas. I'll tell you what I always had. At the Meadowdale pool, Gary, Indiana, there was a low board, there was a medium board, and there was a high dive. Medium was here, high was in the middle, low was over here. The low board, you learn how to jump off a diving board, little kids. The high dive was when you got older, and the medium was where the girls would be over here, and you'd try to splash them doing a can opener, and there was a wall. You'd see how much you could splash the wall. Here's my deal, and I'm with John on this. When you walked out, when you went from here, where there was railings, to out to the high dive, I was scared to death. In fact, right now I can feel it in my legs. I'm with you on that, John. I'm with you, because if you slip, you fall off. I mean, and there's no railings there. I didn't like it. I don't like it now. I don't like it then. And one of the reasons I didn't like it was because, frankly, I'm afraid of open heights. Open heights terrify me. But I'm with you, John. I get it. Here's my scare of water park. My brother said it best. Water parks that serve beer. Look at the beer line. The beer line is always more crowded than the P line. It's like I asked starting center of the Cincinnati Bengals, Teddy Karras Jr. Hey, man, you've had about 15 beers sitting in my pool. Where are you peeing? Because you haven't got out of the pool yet. I'm getting out every 10 minutes. He just laughed. He said, Mr. D, I would never do that. And he didn't. Matthew says, insanity that people should actually praise Southwest Airlines for their new fat people policy. Fine. Then it should be required so customers of normal size don't have to be stuck in between them either. Maybe, now just maybe, go a step further and have a separate plane for those biggins so we don't have to experience their fat ass rubbing against us as they go down the aisle either. Just a thought. That's a solid thought. I mean, they're all bumping into you. You're like, come on. Then the guy swinging his backpack. They should have a biggins plane. And then somebody would sue because, well, little white lady couldn't get on the biggins plane. I was explaining yesterday to my buddy Cam and Doc Laconi about the biggins deal, and they were cool with it. They're like, oh, that's all right. Give them an extra seat. Until I told them, look, they could take your ticket. You're a ticketed passenger. They reserve the right on Southwest to give the biggin an extra seat, and they can take your ticket. You're trying to get home to see Grandma, Susie Rottencrotch, Joey Bag of Donuts, your people. And next thing you know, someone comes up and see, you know what, Slim Pickens over here needs an extra seat, and we're taking yours. What? And then here's the other question that I have not seen, and I have looked, for those of you asked. I have looked. Here's the other question. What's the size limit? How big you got to be? Like, do you have a seat? And if your fat falls over the seat, like, you know how they have the luggage containers that are, put your luggage in, it's this big. And if it's this big, you can carry it on. Do they have a biggin seat? Can you imagine when this is so embarrassing? What? You want everything. What do you want us to do? I mean, can I just say, hey, look, I'm fat. Give me 2 seats. I mean, I'm technically fat. No, I don't get it, but I thank you for your emails. If you want to join the show, it's OutKick, Dakich at OutKick.com. There it is. What's happening to our voicemails? I don't like them, and I should wear that shirt more. That's a very good looking shirt. OutKick, Dakich at gmail.com or 929-687-3941. That's the number to call. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to ride with Double D. We're going to ride right now with Double D. First things, we call it Air Biggins. Hey, anybody riding Air Biggins today? Huh? I don't know. Do I want to go Delta, American, Air Biggins? I don't know. I thought Hooters Airline was a good deal. Hooters Airline used to go from where? Gary, Indiana to like Myrtle Beach. True story. I didn't think there's anything wrong with that action. Hey, I got a couple bets for you. One of the bets is going to be this. Don't at me, people. I'm riding the horse. I'm riding the horse until it drops. Look, over 42. Pittsburgh Steelers, Indianapolis Colts. Over 42. The Colts always score 20. The Steelers are going to get to 16 because Gardner Minshew is going to throw the ball away. And the other team's going to get it with a short field. Now, last night we saw what short fields mean. Short field after short field after short field, interception, couple fumbles, 5 turnovers in all. Next thing you know, 63 points for the Raiders. Short field will kill you, and I got a feeling Minshew's going to give him a short field. Part of me says this, and I think I'm going to make this an official bet. The Pittsburgh Steelers always beat the living hell out of the Colts. And I don't care whether it's last year, 100 years ago. Colts haven't beat them since 08. Pittsburgh Steelers are going to get 1.5 against the Colts. I'm going to take the Steelers in the 1.5. I don't think the Colts are very good. I'm sorry, I don't. I know I'm supposed to. I know we all do, but I just don't. I just do not. I do not think the Pittsburgh Steelers are very good. I do not think the Colts are very good, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have a toughness about them that permeates the Colts every time they freaking play. And you can tell me it doesn't matter what happened in the past, but there are some teams, the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys, that just beat the living hell out of the Colts. And if you don't believe me, just look it up. Hell, New Orleans with Drew Brees beat the Colts 102-10 or something like that years ago. All right. I'm just saying. No, seriously, I'm just saying. That's what we need to look. We're going to go that route. We're going to go those two, and I'm going to give you something else, and you're not going to like it. You ready? I'm taking Indiana in 6.5. I'm bumping it up a point. It's 5.5, but I'm taking Indiana at home against Kansas, and I'll take the 6.5. Now, I told you already, the sack man straightened me out. The 84% rule, which says if you're going to bet on the underdog, take the underdog in the points, but also bet them on the money line, because 84% of the time, if the underdog covers, they win. Now, but according to the sack man, that only counts where? That only counts in the NFL. So I'm not going to take Indiana money line, but I am going to take Indiana 6.5. I just don't think Kansas is that good. I've been saying it all week. I think Kansas is good, but I don't think they win at Assembly Hall without making a bunch of threes. Unless this kid, Juwan Harris, here's what you got to watch if you're an Indiana fan. Watch the point guard. The point guard is one of those guys that's really loose. And his looseness was great second half against Kentucky. He started making threes. He started making plays. He got the ball where it needed to be, and he handled it well. But he got loose a number of times against UConn, flipping it over his head. Well, the guy's name was Skip to my Lou in the A1. He's kind of – he gets too silly with it. And I'm just saying, in Assembly Hall, if you get too silly, Indiana is athletic enough. And if you give Indiana transition points, and you don't make Indiana run that boring-ass Mike Woodson, let's stand around and do nothing offense other than throw it into the post, then Indiana can't score. They just can't. They can't. I'm sorry, they can't. But if you make Indiana play, and I mean you make Indiana play like a half-court team play, then you're going to beat Indiana. But I'm taking them. I'm taking the Hoosiers. I don't know why. I just am. I've seen it too many times. I've seen it so many times, it just drives me bat blank crazy. You know, UConn's given 4.5 at Gonzaga. I would not touch that game because I have no idea which team is going to show up. The bowl season starts, ladies and gentlemen, and I got to tell you, it's the most fun time of the year, and we're going to have bets for you every single day. All right, last thing before we end it. Good for the NBA. Good for Commissioner Adam Silver for getting Draymond Green out of the league for a while. He just needs it. I'm not a philosopher, psychologist. I'm none of that. What I am is a guy that loves basketball and has always told you there are certain cowardice moves in this world. One, preying on a young married woman who just had a couple kids. They're vulnerable. You do that, Greg Doyle, you're a dirtbag. Two, look, here's the deal. In the NBA, you can, in college, in high school, in the sandlot, wherever, you're so exposed as a basketball player that you could hurt somebody or get hurt every single play. You want to see something? Look at Manny, what was his name? Manny Harris of Michigan. Throw the ball and produce Chris Kramer's face, or swipe an elbow is what it was, acting like he was clearing space. Well, it's a chicken blank move. And nobody is a bigger chicken blank, frankly, than Draymond Green, and he needs to be stopped. The latest thing, had to stop it. Good for the NBA, good for the Warriors, good for everybody, saying get out of here for a while, get yourself, clean yourself up, wipe your ass a little bit. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but it had to be stopped. The dude has been insane. LeBron James, bad for you. Look, it's very simple. Everybody, mostly James, knows that everything he does is watched. Everything he does is going to be, hey, look, what's James doing? He's the king, he tells us. So you walk into a game when everybody's singing the anthem. I got no problem with that. Smart. You don't take your hat off. You sit down while the anthem's being played. You know what you're doing. You're just disrespectful, and good for Ennis Cantor Freedom for calling him out. LeBron James don't care about working people. LeBron James don't care about our military. LeBron James doesn't even care about race. LeBron James cares about money. And if that was the Chinese anthem, I bet you he'd be standing up. Let's see when he goes over to China to make some money and promote basketball, if they play an anthem. Remember, that's where James Harden got in trouble last year by talking about Daryl Morey over in China. Let's see if these dudes head to China and stand for the anthem. Betcha they do. I bet you money that they do, and it's sick and ridiculous. All right. As always, thanks to all you guys that showed on the YouTube chat. Don't forget, the OutKick the OutKick store is better than ever. So if you want to rep OutKick gear, go to shop.outkick.com. Limited time. When you buy one item, you get another item, 50% off. All you got to do is visit outkick.com. Shop.outkick.com. And the items, add the items to your cart. The discount will automatically be applied. Don't drop the ball in this offer. Score 50% off while you can. And also, while I'm at it, don't forget, the only place starting on January 3rd to catch OutKick's original and unfiltered shows live will be on our website. You'll be able to catch up on YouTube for all but the live stuff, the live unfiltered content. All you got to do is head over to outkick.com so you won't miss a beat in 2024. Outkick.com/watch will be your one-stop shop for all things OutKick. That's outkick.com/watch. Have a great, great weekend, everybody. It's going to be a fantastic sports weekend. Go Hoosiers. Thank you, Nick and Dylan and Ryan and Katie and Haley and, of course, Beth the Booker and Aaron and Gary. Thanks all. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.